If you are someone who gets annoyed at my movie references every week, get over it. We're starting this episode right up in here with a movie reference because it's so very important. Here's all you need to know. Cooper Stuff has had it up to here. Sick of life, sick of COVID, sick of this world, sick of all of it. We're about to come off the leash. It's going to make some people mad, but I got the zero poops for that. It's going to make some people mad. I can still be friends with you, but you might not be friends with me because I literally cannot take another second of this. The insanity of COVID restrictions, the insanity of the fear mongering about new mutated strains, the insanity of if you get a vaccine and still have 2 masks on, you still got a social distance where you still can't hug your kids. It's ridiculous. Guess what we have now in Michigan? Mask mandates for 2-year-olds. I tell you what else I'm sick of. Not Lucifer. That's my nickname for the media. The media lying to us constantly. I tell you what else I'm sick of. I'm sick of riots. I think riots are never going to go away. Riots are just here to stay. They're basically a new form of extortion. We'll talk about that too. Every time something bad happens in this country, time for a riot. And the only thing we're going to do is change the definition of the word riot so it becomes an okay thing. That's what we do. That's what we do with In fact, we're going to pack the Supreme Court, but we're not even going to, it's not really packing, it's actually unpacking, you see. That's how we do it. We change a word and it changes reality. We have the power of Grayskull. That's basically what we're saying up in here. Conservatives getting kicked off of Twitter and Facebook for saying things that are true. Meanwhile, you can say things that aren't true on Twitter and Facebook and not get kicked off. It's a miracle. Woke corporations trying to tell you how to live your life. Woke media joining up with woke corporations to call out any corporations that aren't woke enough because they're going to clamp down their views on you. What else is going on? Everything ever. Pastor Coates up in Canada, imprisoned. Why? For opening his church. Spent a month in prison, let him out of prison. Guess what happens on Sunday? 200 cops show up and they militarize the church to make sure nobody goes in. Listen, we are not headed towards soft totalitarianism. Okay, we're not headed there. We're there. We are in soft totalitarianism now. It is oppressive. It is tyrannical. And guess what? If we don't pay attention, it's going to move to hard totalitarianism. That's what happens every single time. And if you don't think we're in soft totalitarianism now, you're not paying attention. Wake up. You're not paying attention. You're in soft totalitarianism now. Hey, Sirius, is this what it felt like when the war started the first time? Yep. Yes, it is, Harry. Cooper Stuff! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Cooper Stuff. It's great to be here. All right, look. I'm really super annoyed. Super annoyed. I don't think I've been this, angry for a while. Oh, wait a minute. I remember Netflix and that, child porn cuties film. That really made me mad. But this last year, let's just say it. This last year has sucked. It sucks. You hear how good my voice just sounded? Yeah, I've got a voice that puts people to sleep. Listen, things are going absolutely insane and they're getting worse. There's going to be some good news. I'll save that for the end. Usually I'll tell you some good things up front and then I go to the bad stuff. I just want to get straight into it. But spoiler alert, the good news is this. Jesus Christ is still king. Jesus Christ is still on the throne. I think that there is hope. I know that there's hope. I know there's ultimate hope in Christ, but I think there's even hope for this world. Okay. I think there's hope for our lives, but we have got to do something. We have got to do something about it. And I just, my main goal here, you see, is I'm not even going after the lost. I'm going after woke Christians. We need Christians to join together and wake up to what is happening. The problem is that so many Christians are still you got to be nice and we have to love the world. Romans 13. Yeah, totalitarianism, bro. Totalitarianism. It's so extreme. No, I'm not being extreme. We're living in extreme times. I'm sick of it. Now listen, one good thing, we're going on tour this week. Seems like that should be a good thing. So here's what I did. I went to the mall. for the first time in ages. I got to go. I'm going to make sure I've got, clothes and all the stuff that I'm going to need for the tour. So I'm packing. All right, we're going to, so there's this feeling that we're going to get back to it. Real life is going to come there. I've heard they might open up sporting events. Dude, the mall is like Zombieville. It was so depressing. You get to the mall, 25% of the stores are just completely gone. No one's there. You get to the mall, and then, of course, I had to pee. Why? Because I was drinking a huge fountain soda, not Dr. Pepper, unfortunately. It was a diet soda, and I know somebody's going, diet's even worse for you. Yeah, shut up. I know, but I have to get in shape. In fact, I got to get ripped. Okay, getting there, done. Listen, I'm drinking this humongous soda. I got to pee. I go to all the restrooms. All the restrooms are closed, except for one at the way under the end, closed for COVID. What are people doing in the bathroom to spread COVID? I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what that would really be. No bathrooms open. You have to walk for 15 minutes. You're about to explode from drinking all that diet soda with all those chemicals. Yeah. You go into a store, you're like, oh yeah, I want to try this on. They're like, oh no, everything's closed down for COVID restrictions. What are you going to do in a dressing room? I can't stand it anymore. I just cannot stand it any longer. All right. Michigan instituted their mask mandates now down to 2-year-old. I cannot imagine, honestly, for you parents out there, I cannot imagine having kids in this, trying to get a 2-year-old kid to wear a mask. And for what? This is amazing thing. Those people call me and you science deniers. It's like, there's no science for this. And for me saying there's no science for it, we might even just get pulled off. You're not allowed to say it. Why? It's totalitarianism. This is what hard totalitarianism, of course, is militarization and imprisonment and all these things. Soft totalitarianism is this. They don't have to do that because they disincentivize your life to such a degree that no one can speak out. You can't live your life. You can't run your business the way you want it to be. You can't have a social media platform if you dare say anything that goes against the new religion of wokeness. You can't say anything. So they just yank you off of Twitter, yank you off of Facebook. They don't need the government to clamp down if everyone else is clamping down. It's just unbelievable. So now you got two-year-olds having to be masked. For what? There's no science behind it. I want to play you a clip. I don't usually play clips this long, but I just think you got to see this because it's coming from a guy on the left. Again, Bill Maher. Bill Maher apparently, I agree with Bill Maher, the liberal atheist, more than I agree with woke Christians these days, honestly. I'm just like, okay. So you got to watch this clip from Bill Maher because he is not on my team. He's not a Christian. He's not a conservative. Far from it. Let's see what he has to say about what the media has done. Because all this, I'm going to save it. As you can tell, I'm raring to go. I'm coming off the leash. So I'm stumbling on my words even more than normal because I'm a little bit, I think angry. I think it's okay to say a little angry. Let's watch this long but really good clip from Bill Maher. Okay, guys, unfortunately, I can't play the Bill Maher video. That's why my video got flagged earlier, so I had to re-edit this. So I'm going to read what he said word for word with the exception that he has a few cuss words that I won't say, and then I take out a few parts that are just inappropriate. But for the most part, this is going to be word for word for what he says, and it's important that you hear him say it and not me because, again, he's an outspoken atheist guy on the left saying things that Cooper stuff agrees with, a lot of stuff that we agree with. Here's what he says. So this is Bill Maher on HBO. Quote, "New rule, don't spin me when it comes to my health. Over the past year, the COVID pandemic has prompted the medical establishment, the media, and the government to take a scared straight approach to getting the public to comply with their recommendations. Well, I'm from a different school. Give it to me straight, doc, because in the long run, that always works better than you can't handle the truth. I get it. Doctors tell lies because they don't trust you to finish the antibiotic, yada, yada, yada. And media, I think we all know if it bleeds, it leads. The more they get you to stay inside and watch their panic porn, the higher the ratings. Let me just insert this really quick. This is Cooper stuff, not Bill Maher talking. Some people don't know what panic porn is. That's just a phrase that people use. It doesn't have anything to do with actual pornography, like sexual pornography. What it means is like this obsessive, addictive, watching bad things happening, always hearing the worst news, the worst spin, the sky is falling type stuff. And what he's trying to say is that that's what makes the most money for the media. So the media is becoming less interested in actually telling you the truth about anything. But what they're really interested in is just riling you up all the time because they make a whole lot of money. So that's what he's saying. He's saying, yeah, the doctors don't maybe trust you to do stuff, so they kind of fib a bit. And the media just wants to make money, so they're not actually telling you the truth about something. That's what panic porn is. All right, now we go back to Bill Maher's words, okay? Quoting. Researchers at Dartmouth built a database recently monitoring the coverage of the major news outlets across the world and found that while other countries mixed the good in with the bad, the U.S. national media reported almost 90% bad news. I'm going to repeat that. 90, not 19 in case you can't hear me. 90% bad news. Even as things were getting better, the reporting remained negative. And politicians, they lie because it's in their nature to cover their butts and also to keep in practice. That's funny. But when all of our sources for medical information have an agenda to spin us, yeah, you end up with badly informed population, including on the left. Liberals often mock the Republican misinformation bubble, which of course is very real, as anyone who works at Hillary's Pizza Parlor knows. And we do know conservatives have some loopy ideas about COVID, like the third of Republicans that believe it couldn't be spread by someone showing no symptoms. But what about liberals? The high information science people? In a recent Gallup survey, Democrats did much worse than Republicans in getting the right answer to the fundamental question, what are the chances that someone who gets COVID will need to be hospitalized? The answer is between 1 and 5%. But 41% of Democrats thought it was over 50%. Another 28% put the chances at 20 to 49%. So almost 70% of Democrats are wildly off on this key question and also have a greatly exaggerated view of the danger of COVID too and the mortality rate among children. All of which explains why the states with the highest share of schools that are closed are all blue states. So if the right-wing media bubble has to own things like climate change denial, shouldn't liberal media have to answer for, how did your audience wind up believing such a bunch of crap about COVID? A new report in The Atlantic says the media won't stop putting pictures of the beach on stories about COVID, even though it's looking increasingly like the beach is the best place to avoid it. Sunlight is the best disinfectant and vitamin D is the key to a robust immune system. Texas lifted its COVID restrictions recently and their infection rates went down, in part because of people getting outside to let the sun and wind do their thing. But to many liberals, that can't be right because Texas and beach-loving Florida have Republican governors. But life is complicated. I've read that the governor of Florida reads, but apparently the governor is a voracious consumer of the scientific literature, and maybe that's why he protected his most vulnerable population, the elderly, way better than did the governor of New York. These are just facts. I know it's irresponsible of me to say them. Look, here's what I'm saying. I don't want politics mixed in with my medical decisions. And now that everything is politics, that's all we do. If their side says COVID is nothing, our side has to say it's everything. Trump said it would go away like a miracle, and we said it was World War Z. Trump said we should ingest household disinfectants, and we laughed, as we should, and then it turned out that 19% of America was literally drenching their fruit in Clorox. And now, of course, we found out that all that paranoia about surfaces was bullcrap anyway. If you lie to people, even for a very good cause, you lose their trust. Honestly, I couldn't have said that better myself. In fact, I'm going to let him say it. He can take the heat for it, and then Cooper stuff doesn't have to. The world has gone insane. And so I'm always talking to woke Christians because I want to change your mind, because if anybody's going to put a stop to what we're seeing happen, the Christian community is going to have to raise up. We are supposed to be the ones who understand truth. I mean, this is so, am I right? I think we're the ones that are supposed to understand truth. We're the ones that believe in Christ. Jesus is the truth, not just the truth and for eternal salvation. Yes, he is. But Jesus is the truth. That means that all of reality, if you want to see the world the way it truly is, then you have to first believe in Christ, right? That's it's a fundamental part of apologetics, right? It's a fundamental part of theology. If you see the world through the truth of Christ, then you will see the world as it actually is. We're supposed to be the ones that are speaking truth and justice and light to the world. So what happens with woke Christians? All they do is keep pumping their head full of what the media is telling them. And then they're like, everybody's dying for this. Like they said, what was that stat that he said? He said 41% of, I think he said, if I remember correctly, Democrats believe that there's a 50-50 chance, or over 50% chance, that if you get COVID, you'll have to go to the hospital. 50-50, that's not. Like you said, is 1 to 5% chance, right? They're over 10 times wrong, right? So what woke Christians have done is that they have jumped into unreality just from what the media is telling them and go, all these things must be true, and that's the definition of truth, and so therefore we have to love people. No, all of your facts are wrong. You're not living in reality. You're living in some sort of perceptionville, okay? Now, speaking of Perceptionville, which I just made up, don't think that's going to stick. It's not a very good, that's not one of my better things. But speaking of that, let me just do a plug real fast, because you may never be able to leave your house again, ever. So how are you ever going to enjoy the outdoors again? You got to buy yourself some Hawk and Hatchet candles. I'm telling you, campfire. If you're never, ever going to smell a campfire again, I'm, of course, being facetious, because you should ignore that. It's absurd. But if you want to have the outdoors brought into your house or your business, your job, whatever it is, you got to go to hawkandhatchet.com. These products are stinking awesome. Literally smells just like a campfire. Now, if you're like me, if you prefer rock and roll, then you got to go get one of my signature candles. Black leather jacket. Come on. I'm a little bit of rock and roll. Yeah. Anyway, go to hawkandhatchet.com. Makes the absolute awesomest stuff. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit and talk about my awesome movie quote earlier. Let me tell you what this is about. I don't remember which Harry Potter book it was. I read all the books, watched the films, but I don't remember which one. But do you remember? Most people might probably have seen it. There comes a point when Harry is probably, 13, 14 years old. I don't really remember. But he says to Sirius Black in the film, he's like, is this what it felt like when the war started, 20 years ago, whatever it was? Is this what it was like? Now, what he's trying to say is this, basically. At this point, Harry had already, been in danger, right? Voldemort's been trying to kill him for like 3 or 4 films by now, because Sirius Black's in there. So he knows his life is at risk. That's not in question. He knows he's in danger. But what I feel that Harry's saying this is like, to what extent is this going to be a war, right? I know I'm in danger. I know it's real. I know Voldemort's after me. I know all these things, yada, yada. But is this what it was like then? And I think that's very, very poignant, because we read all these things in history, right? We read about totalitarianism, soft and hard, in history. We read what it was like, and we go, certainly there's no way that it could ever go back to that. Certainly that would never happen in America. No one would let it get that far. And that's what Harry's saying. Is this kind of like it was then? It's hard to imagine that there could ever be an entire war and Voldemort would take over everything. I know I'm at risk. To what extent is this like it was then? And then Sirius Black, of course, says basically, yes, it felt like this. There's a storm coming. You feel the darkness coming. This is kind of how it started then. That's what's happening right now. Just like Harry thought, certainly there's no way there could be another war. Right now, we're all going, certainly they won't try to keep us indoors and masked like for another year or 2 years or 5 years or indefinitely or forever until the second coming. We think certainly that would never happen. Yes, it will. Yes, it will happen. They are loving this power. They are loving it. I know some people could be, John's getting extreme. They are loving their power. How do you know that? Because you read a couple of history books. It can happen just like that. Is this what it felt like then? Yes, it did. There's a fantastic book, Live Not by Lies, that came out last year. I've talked about it before, but it's got great quotes in it from people who survived various communist regimes and things like that, right? And they go back and you ask these people, why did people fall in line with that? Why did more people speak out? Back in Soviet Union or I guess you would say 1910, 1918, whatever, Lenin, around that time. Why weren't more people speaking out about it? Why were people just going with this? And people are like, well, we noticed the signs, but you just didn't think it would get that bad. I knew there was something off, but we didn't think this would happen. And truthfully, things weren't really going all that well anyway. So we thought, well, kind of sounds extreme, but we'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens. It's this way with any sort of dictatorship. You see it happening, but you never think that it could actually get that bad. So you look at it now. Is this what it felt like? Is this what it felt like, before Lenin? Yeah. A lot of the signs are here. It's the same way with abuse victims. I don't want to talk too much about things I don't know much about abuse victims, but I have had enough firsthand experience to know this. There are people that are being abused, but they don't know it, right? Now, I'm not talking about people trying to make themselves into victims when they're not, they're just going through normal life. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that have actually been abused for such a time period that their mind begins to go, well, maybe it's not as bad as I think it is, because it's kind of normalized, right? You're in this thing. And I've seen this firsthand with people. They don't actually know, no, what you're experiencing right now is not normal. That is abuse. It is wrong. It is oppressive. And you're right to think that it's oppressive, because it is. That's what's happening in America right now. I think it's happening in the West. I don't want to talk too much about Europe because I don't know much about it. So I'm talking about America, but there are signs of this all over the West. Obviously, we're talking about pastor codes in Canada in a second. That's what we are in. This is soft totalitarianism. This is tyranny. This isn't Romans 13. Obey the government, whatever they do, because you're loving your neighbor. No, this is tyranny. We all know the stats of COVID. We all know that. We all know the likelihood of 2-year-olds getting COVID and spreading it to we all know this, right? But the media keeps ginning it up for whatever their ungodly satanic ends are. I said it. I don't even give. I said it. It's satanic. They just want control. How do you know that? Because that's how the war started back then in all the history books. Honestly, I don't think that a lot of the... I'm not trying to be rude, and if you think that I think that I'm trying to say I'm super smart, I'm not. I'm not super smart, not trying to say it. I just sometimes think that people don't read. Maybe they just haven't read history. Maybe they, honest to God, don't know. I don't understand what's happening. I'm not talking about fake history. I'm talking about 1619 Project, like fake, faux history. I'm talking about actual history, this real. Go back and read it. This is how it starts. Oh, it's so irritating. So let's look at some of the things that are happening. I already talked about Michigan. Let's see. How is another a way that this happens? If you go back and you read, you're going to find that what Lenin and lots of these various communist dictators, what they do is they just begin to change language. We've talked about that. You go in and you begin to change words so that when people talk about freedom, they don't mean freedom in the sense that they used to mean freedom, like I'm free to make my own decisions. Like, no, we're going to give you true freedom. You know what they're going to do? They're going to give you freedom just like Ultron was going to bring freedom in the Avengers, right? Ultron's version of freedom is, I know it's best for everybody, and if they just do what I want them to do, they're going to have more free life. They will be freer because I know what's best for them, so they won't be able to make any decisions. So basically, Ultron will become sort of like the Borg in Star Trek, right? Basically, everyone will be just like me. They'll all have my mind, and they'll all be controlled, and from that, they'll have true freedom. Well, that's not really what freedom means for people who grew up in America. But you just change the words. So if you just change the word freedom around, well, that's what it's going to be, right? I talk about this kind of stuff, I know, here and there a lot. But we got two great examples this week. If you've been paying any attention, There's the group of Democrats that are trying to change the Supreme Court from 9 justices to, they want to add 4 more, right? That historically has been called packing the courts. They want to pack the Supreme Court. We all saw the clip, or I'm assuming you saw the clip. It's unreal. So basically, this group of Democrats that wants to do it, they all come on and they give all the reasons. Jerry Nadler shows up. His definition is, people say we're packing the courts. We're not packing it. We're unpacking it. His point being that if you remember, before during the election of 2016, there was an open spot on the Supreme Court, and the Democrats wanted to they wanted their justice to go into the process. The Republicans wouldn't give them the process, and the Democrats have been mad about it. I'm not even arguing whether they should have done that or not. Right? That's not even what I'm arguing. I'm just arguing, you think just by changing the definition of packed to unpacked, the argument's over. That's all you do. You change a definition. We have the power to alter reality by changing definitions. It doesn't alter literal reality. It alters perceptionville. It alters poetic truth, right? We don't want literal truth. We want poetic truth like we talked about last week. You have to jump into an unreality. And the amazing thing is I see these woke Christians, even some friends of mine, I love you, but bro, friends of mine, they're like, why are conservatives and John and Cooper stuff, why are you always talking about how the definitions are being changed like they have to be static? Words can change. It doesn't matter if the words change. What matters is blah, blah. Yeah, it matters, because all you do is you change the word and make the same argument. It doesn't change reality. All you're doing is changing definitions. It's really amazing. I even saw Howard Kurtz of Fox News was like, hey, who cares about arguing about the definitions? We just need to argue about the, what he said, we just need to argue about the policy. So then he goes in and he starts saying, whatever policy he was talking about, he says, that we're talking about this and this and this. And it seems like that, 60% of the nation really wants it. So I think the conservatives are wrong. But I'm like, yeah, but 60% of the people want it because they're using the old definition of it. They think that this is about the infrastructure bill. 60% want it because they just hear infrastructure bill and they assume what that means is what we all meant with infrastructure. But now infrastructure just means anything you want it to mean in the whole world. And so Howard Kurtz is saying, we don't need to argue about the definitions and saying, let's not argue about that. Let's just argue on whether people want it or not. And 60% of the people say that. I'm like, dude, how are you not making this connection? That really irritated me, obviously. Well, all you got to do is change reality. We're going to change words now. You know who else did that? Oh, I remember Lenin. Just go back and read some history. That's the way you change the world. You just change words. You fiddle with language. This is a Marxist approach to revolution. Easy peasy. Power. Got the power of Grayskull over here. Another way that we're changing language, it's all the riot stuff. Now listen, riots are here to stay. They are not going to go away. They can't. I said this last year after the election. I'm like, it's going to be 2021. Do you really think that riots are going away? How can they? Nothing has changed. And the narrative is not going to change, because the narrative, of course, as you all know, is that it's a racist country. This country was founded in racism. It's founded in white supremacy. Everything is unequal or has inequities amongst groups of people, as we all know. We all know the thing. Well, is that changing anytime soon? No, that it can't change without revolution. So how are we going to have, why are riots going to go away? It means that every time something bad happens, we're going to have a riot. In fact, even if a black cop shoots a black person, it's going to have a riot for that too, because that's also whiteness. Even if a black cop shoots a white person, that's whiteness. Even if a black person beats up an Asian woman, that's whiteness. This is not going away. The only thing we can do is change the definition. And so we heard this week, didn't we? Because Minneapolis is going through it all over again, and it's not going to change. How can it change? And again, I'm not even taking this is me, not even taking a position on anything. I'm not even talking about, I'm not talking about the right or the wrongness of the shooting. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm not even taking a position. I'm being completely middle of the road, just saying, yeah, but riots are bad, aren't they? Not allowed to say that. Because if you say riots are bad, then that means that you're supporting racism, because they're not riots. That's how you change it. Yeah, but there are things happening that also happen in riots. No. We're just changing the definition of these. You're marching for racial justice. So that's how we deal with that. There. It's done. We're done. Justice meted. Justice meted out. That's how you do it. You just change the definition. So now we see that, they're not going anywhere. It is not going to change unless there's a major culture shift. Okay. But the media is doing the very best job they can do to make sure that ain't going to happen. All right. And I told you another thing of soft totalitarianism. You have corporations getting involved. So you got woke corporations now, as you know. We saw the Georgia voting bill thing. So you got MLB pulling out from Georgia. You got Coca-Cola getting involved. You have all these companies getting involved. What's the next step after woke corporations get involved? Here's the next step. I read this week, can't remember what it was, just Google it. I don't have time to do all this homework. Read it this week somewhere, and go Google this. This is real. So I put an article out basically naming all the corporations who didn't speak up against the Georgia law. So that's it. So you have to jump on board with wokeness. You have to speak. If you don't speak, then silence is violence, right? Same thing that happened last year with George Floyd. You have to speak, but you may only speak what they tell you to speak. And if you speak something different than that, then you're canceled, right? But if you don't speak, you're also canceled. So this is it. This is tyrannical. This is how you try to put people out of business. How are you supposed to run a business? So now all of a sudden your business has to take sides on every political issue there is. Now you're known for that. Did you notice? I'm going to give you an example. Did you notice that Cooper stuff got outspoken last year about stuff? Why did I get so outspoken? I'll tell you why. Because of this very issue. I'll tell you a personal story. I wanted to start Cooper stuff as a place to bring people together, to talk about truth. I just wanted to talk about Bible truth, talk about like virtues and things that I see that we've lost. In other words, they are this biblical truth, but it could be, things that we could see as is just good for people. Okay, that would be like working hard. All right, it's a biblical concept, of course, but that's going to benefit everybody, and it's a way to become a man, right? Things like that. My first couple episodes, I'd talk about love, about being married. That was the very first Cooper stuff I ever did. It was just principles like that, right? You're talking about honoring your wife, honoring your commitments, a covenant of marriage. I did an episode on working hard. I did an episode on loyalty. This is what I wanted to start. I didn't want to make people mad. Guess why I started getting outspoken? Because after George Floyd is the first time I ever heard this silence is violence thing. Everybody was coming out on and on about the police stuff, and I was thinking, I don't want to get involved. I just don't want to get involved in that. I hate racism. I'm not sure this was about racism. I don't know anything about policing. I mean, I look at the video, it looks pretty terrible to me. I've talked about this 10 times. I won't waste your time talking about it again. The point is, yeah, the video looks really bad, but there's just a lot of things in life that I don't know about. Why speak about something that I don't understand? I don't understand policing, right? I don't understand what it's like to be there. I'm just going to stay out of it. Well, you're not allowed to say that. So I just thought, hey, I'll keep out of it. No. And so, in fact, an article came out. Google it. I think it was Billboard. An article came out about Christian musicians remaining silent on the issue of racial justice with George Floyd. Amongst those listed, Skillet. So now, not only can you not say the wrong thing, you can't be silent either, but you must say the pre-approved stuff or you're not woke and you will get canceled. And I got so much pressure to say something. I was like, oh, you poked the bear now, son. You poked the stinking bear now, because we don't know if that's racism. We have no idea what's in the heart of another person. And still in the trial, race has barely come out. In other words, you kind of wondered in the trial of Chauvin if it'd be like they discovered some sort of Nazi material in his house or something. That's barely come up. That's barely come up. That's not even what we're talking about. So this is what they do. woke corporations and woke media, they all come together and they say, you must speak, but you must only speak what you're allowed to speak. Otherwise, we're going to come after you with everything we have to make sure that people know that you are an immoral person, or you're a racist, you're a product of whiteness, you don't care about justice, yada, yada, whatever that is. That is soft totalitarianism, and we are witnessing it right up in here right now. Other things. Pastor Coates told you this up in Canada. Honestly, we just got to show the video of what this is. Check this out.
Now the shock troops are coming. They have gas masks, so they're getting ready for pepper spray.
Need protection from churches.
200 cops
Communists
now.
and Nazis need
One
to
church,
be protected
200
from
cops.
churches.
Helicopters.
You're on the wrong side. The police.
So we're at close to 200 cops now.
You should be taking the fence down and
Gas
standing up
masks,
for
they work for the
visors and stuff. Gas
What do I
masks
tell my
for
daughter tonight?
gas.
That the police are here to
200
protect her from this
cops.
book.
And a
That the men
helicopter.
in uniform that she's supposed
40
to trust
vehicles
are
for
here
one
to
church.
protect her from the law.
Now, no, you look at that and we go, man, what are they doing? Is it like a terrorist organization inside there? Or is it like some child pornography ring? No, they're worshipers of Christ wanting to go to church. That's what it is. I'm amazed, literally amazed and fed up, honestly. I love you, but I'm fed up. I love you, but I'm fed up, man. Amazed at the amount of Christians who don't have a problem with that. I'm serious. The amount of Christians whose problem is with Pastor Coates, whose problem is with the churchgoers. They're like, they're supposed to obey the government. Romans 13. I'm astounded by it. And this is my honest question. I've asked plenty of people this. Send me a comment. My honest question for these people, most of the same people that are mad at Pastor Coates, mad at them for going to their church, Romans 13, obey the government, but they do support the underground church. And I can't figure out why. In other words, if Romans 13 just means you must do anything and everything the government tells you to do at any cost, then why would you support the underground church? They're disobeying the government. I can't figure that out. I've never been able to figure that out. Ever since college, I was like, yeah, but they're still disobeying the government. What do you mean? Their argument is, well, they don't have to go to a building. Yeah, you're right. But what's the difference? What's the difference? Well, they don't have to flaunt it, but what's the difference? That's not the issue at hand. If your interpretation of Romans 13 is no matter what they say, everything, you comply, then why are you supporting an underground church movement? It makes no sense to me. All right, look. Read you something from the Daily Wire about this. This is pretty cool. Pastor John MacArthur on Sunday commended Grace Life Church in Alberta, Canada, which is what I just showed you, which is meeting in secret after the Royal Canadian Mounted Police barricaded their building behind 3 layers of chain link fence. He also read a heartfelt letter that the church's pastor sent to MacArthur's congregation. Rising to address the members of Grace Community and Church in Los Angeles, which has been blah, blah, blah. I won't read that. Yada, yada. Okay, let's just say. Quote, amazing to have an underground church in Canada, MacArthur said. This because the government of Alberta triple fenced the church in and locked it so people couldn't go there. MacArthur observed how out of the province's millions of residents, approximately 2,000 people have died from the virus in Alberta since the beginning of the pandemic. 2,000 people. I didn't know those statistics. That's amazing. 2,000 died. And we're moving into the militarization of churches. All right, sorry. Maybe militarization is too strong of a word. I don't know what you call that. You saw the video, you name it, okay? And if you don't like it, I'll just change the definition of a word and I'll just make it anything I want to. Isn't that cool? Well, it's the Ultron way. All right. He claimed there was no legitimate reason for authorities to forcibly shut down Grace Life Church for continued hold services in defiance of Alberta's public health order, which kept church services at 15% capacity. But they did. This is a first for the Western world to have the government lock out believers from a church. I won't read the rest of the thing, but basically what we have here is that Pastor Coates was writing, I guess, letters from prison is what it looks like to me. This is what I want to say. Is this what it was like before the war started? Yes, it was. We're back to the Harry Potter references. Is this what it was like? Because you're in it. So, right? So it's just like abuse victims. We're in it. We just saw the video. We just found out that a pastor was in prison for a month, right? For opening church. We just saw that, but you're like, but is it too extreme to say that that's totalitarian? Is that too extreme to say it's tyrannical? I know what you're thinking. There's a part of me too that's like, well, that's not necessarily apples and apples. It could be, no. That is totalitarianism. We're like, if you think that, if you're thinking maybe it makes sense, but then you're like the abuse victim. I don't want to make light of abuse victims, okay? I'm just making an analogy so nobody say that I was downplaying abuse victims or comparing them to those churchgoers, all right? See, I caught myself, live and learn. I am not saying that it's analogous in terms of the suffering involved from an actual abuse victim and someone that was locked out of going to church. Hello, I caught myself. But there's an analogy to be made about some abuse victims. They don't know they're being abused because there's that thing in their mind that's like, yeah, but it could just be A, B, C, D. That's what this is like. This is a first for the Western world to lock people out of a church, the militarization or whatever the right word is for what you just saw with your own eyes. And the amount of woke Christians going, yeah, but they're just flaunting their right. Yeah. 2,000 people in the whole country died of this thing, according to that. According to what I just read. 2,000 people died. This is unbelievable. We saw this in California a few months ago. Remember that? I read it. I don't have it in front of me anymore, but do you remember that judge that basically said, yeah, basically strip clubs are fine, church is not fine. You can go to a strip club, have shots of tequila, you can't go to church and have the Lord's Supper. That is unjust. That is a country that deserves the judgment of God. That is a country where the people of God need to rise up and speak out true justice, not Perceptionville, weird, yeah, but I didn't feel. No. I mean, actual truth. My question is are we going to do it?
We have made the deliberate decision to temporarily enhance police officers' authority for the duration of the stay-at-home order. Moving forward, police will have the authority to require any individual who is not in a place of residence to, first, provide their purpose for not being at home and provide their home address. Police will also have the authority to stop a vehicle to inquire about an individual's reason for leaving their residence.
I need to do a whole podcast on this, but I want to say, a couple weeks ago I said, perception is not reality. Listen, I'm going to do a podcast on this. Perception is not morality. Have you noticed that that's the world we're living in? Perceptionville is the moral, is the moral version for the woke. It doesn't matter what happens in reality, right? Just like Bill Maher said at the video that I played a little while ago. Just like he said, you go and you look at where the schools are closed down the most. Where are they going to be at? They're in blue states. They're in Democrat-run states. And where are the most schools closed at? In cities. So who is this going to hurt the most? Kids in cities. We all know that those are disproportionately people of color. So it doesn't matter in reality that this is going to put kids, black, brown, and whoever lives in the inner city, disproportionately people of color. It doesn't matter that it's going to actually put them behind a full year, or maybe 2 years. How long the lockdown? Maybe 3, maybe indefinitely. Doesn't matter that they're actually getting hurt. What matters is the perception that these Democrat leaders care for them. Do you see what I'm saying? So in other words, they still get virtue points, right? They still get the slow clap from the world because they go on and talk about inequity for people of color whilst they are doing things that actually, in the real world, actually bring more inequity. They get virtue points. There's another word for virtue points. Woke cookies, some cooks, woke cooks. I made that up. That's better than Perceptionville. I do my best, okay? So now they get to have virtue points. They get to get woke cookies from the world. Here, boy, here, boy. Here, boy, give me those woke cookies. They get to go and get all the woke cookies while they're actually, in reality, hurting people of color more. But the reality isn't what matters. It's the perception of the reality. That's why these riots are going to last. That's why the riots are they're just here to stay. It's why I say that they're almost a form of extortion, almost. And that is not me. Nobody misquote me. That is not me saying that I don't think there's anything to be mad about. I'm not even taking a position, all right? I'm saying completely vague about what I think about any of these police shootings. Completely vague about it, but of course you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to be silent about it. If you're silent, then you're basically as bad as someone who is just a racist, basically. You're not allowed to be silent. I am. I'm being silent about it, all right? I'm remaining agnostic specifically on these policing issues to make the greater point that these riots are not going to go anywhere, and they are a form of extortion. It is a form of extortion to say, if you don't do what we want you to do, we're going to burn this place down. And we're not going to call it a riot. We're going to call it the voice of the people. We're going to pull out a Martin Luther King quote and then quote it out of context in some way to make it seem like it's okay, that this is actually good, this is actually just, when we know that Martin Luther King wouldn't support it. If you believe in, I don't know, like true history, things like that. It's just extortion. You do what we want you to do, or else this. You convict Chauvin or any other cop, you convict them to what we say, to the degree we say, or else there's going to be price to pay. There may even be a price to pay anyway, and you're not allowed to say anything about it because then you basically will just be a racist. That's what this is. That's the new life. It's not going anywhere. It's depressing, isn't it? Next, we have big tech totalitarianism, which everybody knows. It's ridiculous to even have to tell the story. So sometimes I talk to people and they disagree, and I'm just like, do you really have to go through this? And the evidence never actually matters because they'll always have a different thing. They'll always say a different thing, but their thing isn't true. It's poetic truth. In other words, in their minds, it doesn't matter if it's literally true. We know that is generally true, and that's the thing, so that it must be. But it's actually never true. Bill Maher said that a little while ago too, didn't he, about Florida's governor, DeSantis. The media keeps saying over and over and over how DeSantis is killing people in Florida. Or what about this one? What about when President Biden said after Texas said they were lifting their mask mandates, no more mask mandates, and Joe Biden said that's Neanderthal thinking. Well, what happened? Texas COVID stuff went down. It's gone down. Are we ever going to hear, and I was wrong about that? No, it doesn't matter. Because why? Because poetically true, they're just Neanderthals and they're science deniers. Even though the science is in their favor, but generally it's not poetically true in their minds. In Perceptionville, they just don't really have the right perception. They need to wear a mask, so we have the perception of loving people. Even if it's not true, even if it doesn't help people. That's why 2-year-olds in Michigan are going to have it. It's not going to help anybody. It just kind of like is poetically helping. You see? It's actually just a lie. So now we got big tech totalitarianism. We got James O'Keefe at Project Veritas released another video. So it's on video. There's no way of saying that it's not true. It's on video. He has a CNN, technical director or whatever, admitting on video that, they kept overblowing all the COVID stuff, sharing only the bad news of COVID, because really what this is about is just getting Donald Trump not to win. That's really what this is about. And they have yanked his videos down from Twitter. Yanked it down. You're done. We can't have that. It's amazing. It's amazing stuff. Now, this has been going on, but no matter how much you say the truth, the woke go, oh, no, that's not true because the facts don't matter to the woke. It's not about facts. It's about the perception. It's about the feelings. Nothing more than feeling. It's all about the feel. Yeah, but Care Bear share. It's all about the Care Bear moment. It's not about the facts. So this is going to be the world that we live in now. Just like, who else got pulled down? Oh, is it Jason Whitlock? What? I can't remember the guy's name. Whitlock. Who's the writer? Anyway, and he got pulled down. He's a conservative voice. Look up Whitlock. He's awesome. He's a fantastic writer, very smart man. And he wrote on the whole BLM thing. So one of the founders of BLM, can't remember her name, but, you know, she's one of the three women who founded the BLM Inc. She's a Marxist, and that's not me being whatever. She says that she's a Marxist. We all know by now. I'm not even going to apologize for it. I'm not even going to try to prove it. We all know. BLM is a Marxist organization. Everybody knows that. And all the woke Christians, oh no, Jesus was a Marxist. All right. I'm not even playing. I'm not even going to talk about that right now. It's a Marxist organization. She's a Marxist. Well, she, you know, all of a sudden she's going on a real estate buying spree over the last year. I think she's bought 3 properties. I think it is. Over $4 million worth of property, including one in, how do you say that? I was going to look it up before the show. I don't have time. I'm going on tour. Wherever it is in California, is it Topeka Canyon? I can't remember what it's called. Anyway. But it's basically all white people. And so, so Jason Whitlock writes about it. They yank him off of Twitter. You're not allowed to say that. The obvious thing is this. She's a Marxist. She's just being a good Marxist. Why? Because every Marxist leader was rich while everyone else suffered. It's okay if she's rich because she's in the poetic truth. She's not in literal truth where the rich people are the oppressors. She's in the poetic truth because she says that rich people are the oppressors. It's okay for her to be rich. She's just doing what true Marxist leaders do. This is what they do. So she buys all these, go Google it. She buys all these properties, including the one in like the widest area of LA, okay? The widest LA area. And the question I have, and I'm not even trying to be a jerk, but I've had it up to stinking here. If the biggest terror threat in America is white supremacy, if, according to people like her, this is their narrative, not my narrative, if black people can't walk out of their house because of fear of death, all right? If black people all day long are experiencing white terror, then why are you going and moving into like the widest area of LA? Why are you moving into that area? I mean, it's really an honest question. If that's what it is, why? Because we know it's not literally true. It's only poetically true. Why is she okay to be rich when rich people are the oppressors? Why is she okay to go live in all whiteville when white people are the oppressors? Because they don't believe what they say. It's a lie. But they're forcing all of us to live in a poetic truth out of niceness. And woke Christians are guilty of this. We don't want to say the truth because it's mean, so we're just going to lie. You're going to jump into an unreality, say things that you know are not true. They don't believe are true. She's rich. She's a rich Marxist leader. This says that rich people are the bad ones. How can we continue to go on like this? How can we continue to live in a world like this? Let's get to the good news. The good news is this. We have a chance to speak up. Let me even rewind and give you some even better news that I give you every week. Christ is on the throne. Christ is in authority now. Jesus isn't like, oh, the world, people are making such bad decisions. I guess I have to figure out a way to fix it all. That's not the way it works. Jesus is Lord of all right? He holds the future. Nothing is in question. And he will bring all of this into his glory. All of this will be for his glory. We just don't know what the future holds ourselves. But we have a prophetic mandate, don't we, as Christians? We have a prophetic mandate to see through discernment, through wisdom from the word, because we see truth correctly. Why? Because we have Jesus. So the fact that we have Jesus and now we have the Holy Spirit living inside of us, we see the world the way it actually is, right? So therefore, we have a prophetic mandate to speak truth to the world. Why? Because the world can't see truth and reality actually the way that it is, because they deny the truth, who is Christ Jesus, right? So that is our prophetic mandate. We have to do that. But we don't know what the future holds. We see in part, right? We see in part, but we don't know what the future holds. Is it going to get worse? I don't know. What I do know is that Christ will bring this for his glory. I just don't know how much suffering we're going to have to endure until we get there. And this is my challenge for everybody. Everybody, woke Christians, I hope you're listening. Liberal Christians, I hope you're listening. People that say, oh, you got to love your neighbor by never leaving your house and wearing 2 masks. Listen, it's a lie. All of this is a lie. I'm not saying that COVID is a lie. COVID's obviously not a lie. Almost 560,000 people died or something like that. Okay, somewhere near 600,000. It's real. It just doesn't add up to what the media is telling us. What the media is telling us is not real. It's a lie. COVID's real, yes, but it's tyrannical. It is tyrannical for big tech, big business, big media, big med, big pharma, whatever you call it, to come in and clamp down on your life to the point that you have to live in isolation and suffer for the actual medical, scientific facts that we see. That is tyrannical. So my thing is this: I don't know how much we are going to have to suffer until Christ begins to turn this around. But what I do know is this: we have a chance to do something about it. We have a chance to play our part and be a prophetic voice to the world about the truth of Christ. And not just an eternal truth, which that is, of course, the most important thing is eternity, meaning people's souls, salvation. So yes, salvation and the eternal, truth of Christ is by far the most important. But we also have a chance to play a role here on earth to make this world a better place. And if we remain silent, then I believe that soft totalitarianism that we're in now is going to lead to hard totalitarianism. I really do. I don't think this mask stuff is going away. I don't think this isolation stuff is going away. I don't think these riots are going away. I don't think the redefining of words is going away. I think it's going to get a whole lot worse. But we Christians have a part that we can play in it. There's a chance we could turn it around if we would just open up our eyes and begin to live according to the actual truth and realize that it is not loving to lie to people. I know none of us want to hurt people's feelings. I'm not saying to go on social media and start screaming at folks, but it's time for us to refuse to live in the lie. I'm not going to live in the lie. Not going to do it anymore. I'm fed up. I can't stand another second of this. It is not real. Sirius, is this what it felt like before the war started the first time? Yes, this is what it feels like. You're in it. I know it might not seem like, you might go, oh, yeah, but there's a chance there's not. No, you are in the war right now. I believe that we are supposed to be those people on the watchtower screaming out about the danger that we see. That's what the church has to be. Woke Christians, please hear me out. Hear me out. You have a chance. You have a chance to be a prophetic voice to the world. But it is not going to happen if you just continue to believe the unreality that you're being fed by the media, by the woke corporations, by woke tech. It's not true. Begin to see the world as it really is. That's my encouragement to you. Thanks so much for watching. Love ya.
Read the Bible.
Kill myself!